give you a lot of useful information about the kinds of behavior you're going to observe when we're out in a couple of weeks with the children. And it's important that you don't spend time trying to do something that's developmentally inappropriate for that child. So you need to be able to recognize where their play level is when you're working with them so that you understand what's an appropriate way to approach them and try to get them to engage in the motor skills that we're doing. Alright, so it's really important. You have to balance that. It's not all about they have to do the motor skill, because if they're not ready to play in a certain way, then you could be wasting your time and doing something inappropriate. Alright, so pay close attention. Also, just a heads up, remember your playground exam is on Monday. That will be up online. I'll send out an announcement to remind you again, but that exam is on Monday.
What's a playground exam?
Well, you have to pass the exam, be on the playground, you all signed up on the
Please pass, the kids want you there, don't fail. It will be a disheartening time sitting at my office because you can't go out and play. All right, welcome everybody. All right, I have done this play lecture now, I think it's at least 4 semesters, 5 possibly. And every time I try to think, okay, it's Friday morning, it's 9 o'clock, everybody's like, oh, the weekend's almost here, what are we gonna do? So I thought, what better way to example the fact that play is so important to learning for young children is to let you play. Yes, did you get your drink? Okay, awesome. So if you didn't get something out of that bag, then you need to get something. If it helps you to keep your attention, that's what it's intended. So make sure you get something to play with. Everyone should have some blocks in front of them. And let me see, I can see 1 2 minutes here. Okay, feel free to play with them. Your brain will learn better because of it. You will actually process information better. Much better because you're active in your learning. Children definitely don't like it when we stand and preach at them, and I know even for adult learners, it's not an easy thing for you to do that as well too. So we're going to do our best today to get you the information that you need to know, but then also allow you to have some time to move your body and be creative in your thinking. And we'll talk a little bit about why you have the blocks in just a bit. Okay? All right, so how does the brain work and what does play do to help the brain? Well, if you're thinking about how brains are stimulated, they're stimulated by the things that happen to the body. And one of those things is movement. And so in order to make sure that children's brains are developing effectively, we've got to get them moving, we've got to get their body in action so that they can receive information, so they can problem solve, so they can develop interactions and relationships that are effective for their learning and for their development later in life, for their ability to interact with people effectively. We want them to be able to get creative and try to be practice their ability to think in ways that allows them to explore their world. Maybe not in a traditional way. You always hear that statement, think outside the box. Children typically do think outside the box, but creativity is something that we have to nurture in them by giving them that opportunity to move and grow with their body. We want to look at how we develop language, because it's very difficult to play without saying a word. It's possible, but it's a very difficult thing. Typically, you want to find interaction. You want to be able to communicate with people. You want to share your ideas. You want to share your experiences. So it's important that language is a part of that play, and it helps them develop that. You know, if you want to play catch with somebody and you don't tell them that you want to play catch and you keep throwing the ball at them and they're not doing nothing and they're not getting the message, you have to communicate. So they learn to use language in ways that helps them interact and engage. Sensory processing. We take a lot of information in with all of our senses, and play is a very multi-sensory experience. Some of you are experiencing that right now. You've got touch, you've got visual, you may have auditory from some of the materials that you have. Those things are important. So making sure that sensory processing is supported through movement and play is very vital. And then, of course, we know, and this is common sense, that play and movement will develop their motor skills, will help them to grow and be engaged actively in their body development, their muscles, both their small muscles and their large muscles. Okay?
I need toys.
Yep. All right. So, what kind of real learning? So this is the good science. This is the stuff that we want to see. If you think about all of your play experiences that you had growing up, and probably, hopefully, you're still having them as an adult. I know it's harder to have playful opportunities as an adult, but you really need to continue to develop yourself. But children develop reasoning, making sense of something. Oh, if I do this, this happens. Okay, I got it. They develop how to visualize. And for those of you that play any kind of sport, you know the importance of visualization. If you're thinking about how you're going to accomplish a task or practice a skill or engage in certain kinds of play to be successful in the game, you need to visualize what that looks like. You need to understand how your body's going to move, what thinking you're going to engage in order to make that happen. So visualization is huge for children. They learn courage. Think about it. How many of you did something in childhood that was probably something that if your mom saw you or knew would have been like, oh my gosh. Raise your hand if you did it. I probably have like 5 hands I should be raising at the minimum. So you learn courage. You learn to take those risks. You learn to try something, see if it's going to pan out. Sometimes you fall flat on your face and you've got to get a Band-Aid, and sometimes you're going to be okay. You know, you're going to be like, hey, I did that. I have a new skill. What else can I do with it? They learn responsibility. A lot of times when you're playing, you have to engage with other people. You have to have a responsibility to their interaction with you. Sometimes you have to have a responsibility yourself to have fun, even, for that matter. They learn to be adaptable. I know that when I was running around as a child and playing outside, if something didn't work the way I wanted to, I figured out a way. How many of you played Superman on the swing instead of swinging on your bottom? Yeah? How many of you spun them and tightened them as tight as you could and then whipped yourself around? Yeah, I remember those times. So that's adaptability, because that's not what a swing is intended, and I've never seen a teacher teach you to twist your swing up or Superman it, you know? So think about how they adapt. Individuality, you learn what's your style. How do you like to interact? What do you like to do? They learn power, because certainly it feels good when you accomplish something, you do good things. They also learn to have judgment, because now, even though they might be courageous and try something risky, they're also going to think about it, you know? If I do this, will the result happen that I want? Or if I throw this ball all the way over there, will it get to somebody? Or will it hit the person I'm trying to hit? Or what are those things? They're making judgment calls all the time. Perseverance. Most good play requires you to stay with it. Young children have a difficult time with that, so this is a really good skill for them to develop. It also has to do with their attention building as well. They learn trust. They learn to concentrate and be focused on something. I look around this room and I see some really cool focus on some things that you're building or that you're thinking about with your materials. And then they also learn control. They learn how to manage what they have and what they can do with their body. Okay? All right. So, how do you plan for play? What do you need to think about? The good thing is you all are lucky that you have a great environment in which to play with our kids. That has already been thoughtfully arranged so that you can have space. So if you were out cleaning toys last week, you saw that we have a very large playground. It gives you lots of space to run, lots of space to move. We try to limit the interruptions in that space as much as possible because they need that. So space is huge for them. They absolutely have to have that. Now, where you come in is making sure that they use that space in a helpful and safe way, because some of our friends are going to decide that that space is too much, they don't know what to do with it, and they're going to try to explore in ways that may not help their bodies to grow safely. So we have to watch that. We also have to encourage them to use the space as well. We have some children in our center who will love to just stay right close to somebody, not very much move unless you really motivate them to move. So one of your tasks when you're out on the playground is to get them engaged. You know, don't just stand there and say, oh, aren't you a great kid? Get moving and say, come on, great kid, let's go over here and let's throw a ball together. Let's bat with the bats. Let's climb the climbing rope. Whatever you're going to be doing, you want them to get engaged. So you've got to start to do it. So you model for them what you want them to do. Then you have to have materials. And Dr. Wall has been blessed with a lovely shed full of awesome stuff. You know, sometimes you look at it and it seems really simplistic, but when the kids get around those materials and start to use them creatively based on the way you arrange them or set them up for play, they have a blast and they love it. Structure is really important. You have to know what's going on. You have to have kind of a plan and you have to have some goals. Because what will happen is kids will play. They will play, but their play may not be as organized around some of the tasks that they need to develop. If you're really looking at a batting task and they pick up the bat and start running around and whacking each other's heads, that plan of having them learn how to hit a ball with accuracy is not happening. So you need to know what that plan is and help redirect them back to that, okay? Peer collaboration. You want them to work together. It's nice we're going to have a lot of adults on the playground, and that's really great. That gives them a lot of support and a lot of modeling. But the problem is that sometimes they forget to work together and collaboratively with each other, which is just as vital to their success working with us. So remember, if you see somebody maybe not wanting to do something, see if you can get another kiddo that's really eager to do it and bring them together and help them do it together. Encourage them to share the opportunity collaboratively. That's really important. They should have multi-sensory, and we're very blessed. All the equipment and materials and experiences very much support that, but you want them to make sure that they're using them so that they can get engaged. And then thinking about transitions. This is the tough part. Dr. Wall does a really good job of getting them centered when we come out on the playground. That means we sit down, we stretch our body, we get ourselves kind of tuned into what's going on. If you listen to her, she's going to give them some of the expectations of how we play and how we don't play so that they can be safe in the play. Listen to those, pay attention to what's being said, because then you're going to be the ones who reiterate that to the children. How many of you, the first time you hear something, you remember it forever? Okay, few of us can do it, right? Most of us need to hear it at least a couple of times. Children typically need to hear it probably, you're thinking, you know, maybe 5 or 6 times would be enough. No, you're talking maybe like 50 to 100 times, and sometimes every single time that they experience something, they need to rehear the expectations. So make sure you pay attention to that, because that will be helpful to you in saying, remember, Dr. Wall said, or the expectation on the playground is X, Y, and Z, because they're going to test those boundaries. They want to know if you hear them or see them or understand what's going on. And then the last thing is to make sure that they have time to play. So part of that transition strategy is to get them out there, get them focused, and then get them to play for as long as we possibly can. We want a minimum of 10 strong minutes of highly active play. So if they're kind of trudging up to something, going, okay, let me trudge over here. Oh, throw that one. That's not highly active play. We need to get them. So jog to the next activity, run, get them moving, because they will tend to do what they see other people doing around them. They will mirror your behavior. If your behavior is lackadaisical, if your behavior is not enthusiastic, they're going to be the same way. Okay, so give them the opportunity to see you being active with them. All right, so what happens? Why do kids not play? And some of you will recognize this because it even affects us as adults. This is why we don't play. There's a lot of sedentary activities that are out there. We can sit on our phones, and when we sit on our phones, we're certainly not running and jumping and hopping and swinging from a monkey bar. We're sitting down, we're sedentary in our behavior. If we're looking at our TV, unless you are lucky enough to have a treadmill planted right in front of your TV, you're probably not moving very much when you sit down and watch those kind of screens. So really thinking about how you are engaged in activity, and children have the same kind of factors. A lot of them have learned that, hey, I can ask for the iPad, I can sit on my parents' phone, I can watch my cartoons, and then I don't have to be active. So they have not learned how to be active. How many of you remember in your childhood your parents ever telling you, go outside, stop watching that TV, or stop playing that video game? Yeah, did you get it? I heard it a lot, and even in my day and age, there wasn't very much of that. Well, we figured out how to get to it if we could. Well, children these days, even at 1, 2, 3 years of age, get lots of that. So we want to counterbalance that. Inappropriate modeling. Most of their parents and adults around them are not as active as they used to be. I'm sure you've heard about this, and if you haven't, don't let this be a newsflash, but there's an obesity epidemic, not only for young children, but also for adults in this world. And that is because we are not active in our behavior. It's okay, don't run out of the top. You're playing, you're learning while you're playing, it's awesome. But there's not a lot of good models out there. You think about what they see on TV, all the kids' commercials are usually about some kind of sweet food stuff, or how to sit nicely and play with your dollies or your action figures. There's not a lot of get out there and move kind of modeling out there, not only in the mass media, but also for families to engage in. So you guys are providing a much needed service for them in modeling some good active behavior. And then there's not very many good environments. We're lucky in Portales, we probably have, for the size of the city, more parks than some major cities do. And definitely more outdoor space than most major cities do. So we're blessed. The problem is that parents aren't taking their kids there. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I could wander probably at least a mile-wide radius around my household, and easily my parents didn't worry about being kidnapped. They didn't worry about, some stranger coming up. We just played. We had fun. Anymore nowadays, kids are starting to be kind of held closer to home, not given the space to be able to move and explore, because there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of worry about all the dangers that are out there. Unfortunately, the media has thwarted most parents' attempts to let their children be free because it scares the living daylights out of them about if they're free, what will happen to them. And then most families don't have swing sets. How many of you had some kind of play set out in your backyard when you were growing up?
Lived in an apartment.
Yeah, well, if you lived in an apartment and the apartment was nice enough to have a playground, maybe you might have had something, but that's no guarantee. So yeah, definitely, if you didn't have that kind of access to even good play equipment for you to challenge your body on, and most kids don't these days, it's difficult for you to be able to stretch. So we are overcoming that barrier as well, because then all the things you learn playing on that equipment were really powerful. If you don't have access to that, that's an experience base that you don't have to draw from. So you don't know what to do until you're out there and someone teaches you. Lack of energy, a lot of kids eat more sugar than they should. They eat very sugar-rich, or drink very sugar-rich juices, or sodas, or things that depress their systems. Gosh, we've had kids come out on the playground, play too hard, and barf up blue stuff. I mean, blue stuff is not a natural occurring item. So, kids are exposed to a lot more junk, a lot more of the nutritional items that are not going to sustain their energy for a long period of time. And most of you that are players or athletes or care about your body know that you got to fill the temple with good stuff, or else it's not going to function very well. Okay. And then structured time is very dominant for children. A lot of times parents are like, let's go do dance class, let's go do taekwondo class, let's go do soccer practice and all of that. Those have active elements to them. When you think about the amount of time that children are in good, spontaneous physical activity, even in those kind of activities that they do, it's still limited. It's still not as sustainable as you would like to see. So, and free play and time to just explore is even as much of a value to children as that kind of structured activity. So oftentimes parents substitute this, let's go do some structured kind of component and eliminate that opportunity for kids to just be kids and do things that they want to do for their body, okay? So, how do you plan for playing with our 3-year-olds? This is them stretching one morning, getting ready for play. Remember that kids are born to take risks, and that is an awesome thing. We want to see that. We want them out there doing what they can to get active. But they're also going to challenge their bodies, and not always in the right way. So be aware. Let them take some risks, but watch out. Last semester we had some friends, when you put up the big climbing rope in the corner of the buildings, we had a few friends who decided that they did not need adults and they could let go of the climbing rope and just fall to the mat below, which is a way that they show that they want to take risks, but sometimes their brains aren't fast enough to process the consequence of how hard that ground's going to be when I get to it after I've let go. So remember that they're going to take risks and you need to be there and be aware, okay? Don't leave an area unsupervised unless there's just nobody there and you need to play with another group. Pay attention to what's around you, pay attention to what's happening so that you can keep in tune. Have the right space to move. Make sure that you create spaces. If you're helping Dr. Wall set up and you want to be looking, is there enough space for the kind of activity that we're going to be doing out there? Watch for that, pay attention to that. If children move equipment around, reset them so that the spacing is right for their bodies. And then they need support to build courage and stamina. Be their cheerleader, be their coach that says, all right, I know this seems hard, or you didn't do it right that first time, but you know what, we're gonna try again and we're gonna keep going, okay? Think about how you give them the charge to keep moving forward. All right, so what you need to know about play 2 is that children progress through stages of play. And this is important because you're going to be working with our 3-year-olds, and we have some really brand new 3-year-olds. How many of you remember little Megan? If you measured her, she's like, what was she, 11.2 kilograms, and it's not even, I think, 60 centimeters if it had been.
She almost makes Clark look big.
Yes. We have some tiny ones, and so, you have to understand that developmentally, when they get out on that playground, they may not react the same way to play that you expect, if you're working with our group of 5-year-olds at that time. They're going to just be like, I'm home, let's do it. A couple of the ways to look at play. Unoccupied play is usually what babies and toddlers engage in. That's where they just kind of do their thing. They're not really focused on any particular thing. They kind of split around from play to play to play, but there you go. And so they're kind of just kind of random in their ability to engage with anything. And it's usually very fleeting. It's quick. You might even see not even a minute's worth of interaction with any particular item. Then you have solitary play, where they're getting engaged, kind of like what you guys are doing right now, where you're playing with something, but you're not really noticing anything going on around you. You're not tuned in to what your friend next door is doing or what anybody else. You're focused on what you want to accomplish in your play. Onlooker play starts to add that element of, I see what you're doing, I'm still doing my thing, and you're usually playing with different things, but I kind of pay attention. I look at what you're doing. I might check in every now and then, see what's happening. I'm a little more curious about you now. And that usually starts about 3 years of age. And so you're going to see a lot of that kind of onlooker play in our younger age class. Then we get to the parallel play where 2 people are playing together. So maybe we bring the desk together and the blocks or something, and you might be looking at what each other's doing. You might mimic a little bit of what they're doing. So, our friend here is building a tower, put the star on the top. Maybe you decide, I'm going to build a tower like his and put my star on top. And so you kind of think about what's going on. You're tuning in more, but you're not quite sure how to partner in. Associative play allows you to start to maybe share a piece back and forth, kind of start to collaborate, but not really. You still have your own space, you still have your own opportunities. And so associative play is a lot of what we see happening with our young age group, the older ones in that group, and then we also see it a lot in our 4 to 5-year-old group. They kind of want to be together. They don't quite know how to negotiate those relationships. They still want their own space, but they're willing to give and take on some of the materials and things that they're using. And then cooperative play is the last form of play that's out there, and that relates to the kind of play where you can say, okay, you take my blocks and together we're going to make a bigger structure than we were making before. And if I throw you my ball, you'll catch it and we'll play a game. That's that kind of game playing, kind of rule-based play that starts to become more the norm. We have probably about half of our older age group that can really start to begin some of that cooperative play. So you'll see some of that in there. All right, so what are 3 to 5-year-olds doing? They're learning to develop their body coordination strength, develop balance and spatial awareness, listen with understanding to directions. However, that says listen with understanding, but that doesn't always, the understanding doesn't always equate to action to reflect understanding. So you have to check in with them and say, what do you remember hearing? What do you think we're supposed to do? When you check in with them, then you'll get a better sense of whether understanding is there. Making choices, especially their likes and dislikes, you're going to see a lot of that. Some of them have played with the playground equipment. I would say we have a few of our friends have played with it probably at least a good 2.5 years now, easily. Yeah, we've got a couple. So some of them know the equipment, they know what they like to do around the equipment, so they will express that like and dislike. We have some of the little ones who don't know anything, who don't know what to like or dislike. All right, what else are they learning? They need to be able to learn to adapt their behavior to different situations, because every station that you have out on the playground is going to challenge them in a different way. So they have to change their behavior. They have to adjust to be able to meet that need. They also have to learn to play and interact because there's going to be their classmates on the playground. For some of them, that's really easy. For some of them, that's very challenging. For some of them, they've not figured out that, hey, I can actually involve someone in my play and it could be fun and it could be enjoyable. So encourage them to do that. Use and accept negotiation, compromise, and discussion for conflict resolution. This is what you need to pay attention to because this is what you're going to experience. You are probably standing at the bat station and you've got cones and you got the ball on the cone and you got the bounce on the ground and goodness knows that's the red one, the one that looks like Spider-Man. And you've got 3 boys that go run into the Spider-Man style bat because they want it and nobody's letting go of the bat. 3 friends are tugging and pulling. How are you going to handle that? How are you going to teach them? Okay, let's think about who was here first, or can we take turns with the red Spider-Man bat? Absolutely. So you have to help them negotiate and compromise and problem solve because all they're thinking is, it's mine and I'm not giving it up, okay? So help them see, or say, oh, you know, there's the green one. That's like the whole thing. We should get that one too, okay? Be creative. Think about what you know about pop culture, comics, especially superheroes. Even go a little princess on them, you know. At least seen Frozen, come on, right? Yeah, or at least see the commercials.
The boys are going to learn a lot about Frozen.
Yes, we have Frozen mania. Frozen and princess mania happening. All right, and then they also have to learn to respect the rights of others, and that's a really tough battle for them. All right, so let me ask you a couple questions. Ready?
Oh, hey!
Okay. I figure. Okay, who can name a type of play?
Romeo and Juliet?
Nice
That's
try.
right, though.
Nice try.
Baseball.
No big deal on that one. Okay, type of play. All right, can you tell me what a little bit about it? Oh, sorry. I'm not going to say I have good aims. Okay, remember playing together? Think about parallel lines, playing together but not playing. Okay? Yes. On the ground. Oh. Sorry. I don't know if I hit the wall or not. All right. Another type. Constructive is actually a type of play style, but not quite the play that we talked about. You think it. I'll give you that. All right. Okay, back.
Collaborate.
What?
Collaborate.
Cooperative, right? Is that what you're trying to say? All right. Tell me one of the characteristics from probably the second slide that children learn through play.
Reasoning.
You said no, it's yes.
Adaptation.
Adaptability, right? See, this is why I did not play baseball, okay? I played soccer. I can kick it to you better.
Teach the children how to throw and catch, right?
Well, this is why you develop your depth perception at a young age. Okay. All right, ready?
Concentration.
Concentration. Awesome. That's the best. Power? Sorry. I'm watching your colleague here lose it.
Structural.
Huh?
Structural.
Structural? Oh.
No.
What does that mean? Tell me more.
Yeah, like structured play, like, going with the rules.
Oh, okay. See, I can take that. When you justify your answer, I'm good. All right. Who can tell me? Let's see. Man. Okay. Who can tell me something that you need to know about how 3 to 5-year-olds like what they're growing and developing?
You're born to take risks.
Awesome. Okay. Come on. Somebody else? Somebody else? What's next?
Born to develop.
Huh?
Born to develop.
Going to tell me more.
Like their motor unit.
Okay, so they're growing all of those skills. All right. Yes.
They're easily distracted by the surroundings.
Oh, yeah. Which is a good thing?
Johnny!
Oh, you have to provide a lot to earn one.
Damn.
He's awesome.
All right, this side Okay. What else? Space, absolutely.
Is that environment?
Okay.
Environment's different.
Time, oh yeah. Don't you know, good play needs. All right, equipment consent. Way back, all right, let's try this one.
Oh, good one.
Yes. Ooh, space, yep, room is important, exactly. Say again. Okay, that's been said, not going around. Try again. Anything else? All right, what do you need to protect? Their body. Okay, here, I'll go to the back there for that. We got these in the midst. All right. When you go on the playground.
Stop.
When you go out on the playground, you have to do what before you can go out and play? Awesome, all right. I'm gonna lay these out here. If you didn't get one and you need one, then they're there. How are we doing on time? Oh, okay, I rocked it.
Hey, how you want?
All right, so let me remind you that the blocks do need to come back because my 7-year-old daughter will give me grief. All right. You take that one, see? The blocks have to come back to me. I don't know, Dr. Will, do you have something that you want to pick up different from me? What do you want to do?
You can always bring toys to class.
Yeah, your little fidgets are awesome.